Alright, boys and girls, with Deltia and Godzilla and some other people making some videos about the state of ESO, this lent me down a bit of a rabbit hole, and I thought, okay, everyone wants this done and that done, and says ZOS isn't doing their job properly, and they're useless developers and so on. What would I do if I actually worked at ZeniMax and could make changes? So that's what we're going to discuss in today's video, boys and girls. I do recommend going and checking out Deltia and Godzilla's videos. I'll have them linked in the description. All right, let's get into it. First up, I think the big one we need to tackle is healing. What would I do to it? Now, we're not going to necessarily discuss individual tooltips and what skills I think should be nerfed and so on. We're talking the big picture. Now, burst heals have forever been annoying, I guess. You get your enemy down to like 1,000 health, and then by the time you get your execute off, they're at full health. Now, I don't actually have a fundamental problem with burst healing and the fact that you can heal from empty to full. I think that is a fine thing to be able to do, but you shouldn't be able to do it over and over and over again. It should be something that you can selectively use to get yourself out of a sticky situation, and not something that you can sit there and spam over and over again. Adding a ramping cost to every burst heal in the game, I think, is the way of going about it. Now, what I mean by that is similar to how dodge roll's treated, similar to how streak is treated. You can cast it once, and then the second time you cast it, it costs a bit more. Then the third time it costs a whole lot more. And by the time you get to the third cast, it's costing 10,000 magic. Now, this would have to be tested and balanced out so it wasn't too aggressive or not aggressive enough. I think this would solve the issue in regards to burst healing. Next up is cross healing, or basically external healing. Start off with one morph. That's it. One morph. You don't get any others. You can only have one rapid regen on you, and that's it. No 2, 3, whatever. Now, this is good in two ways. One, you're not going to have a fuck ton of the same morph and people just stacking crazy healing on top of each other. Secondly, you're going to have more diversity because you're not going to want to have just Templars. You're going to want to have, a Warden healer. If you want to maximize your healing, you're going to want all those heals from the different classes in your group so you can fundamentally still stack healing. And there lies the problem with that idea, the ability of still being able to stack healing, which brings me to the third thing: nerfing external healing by a lot. Now, hear me out, healers. Don't go typing in the comments section just yet. By a lot, 50, 60, I don't know, by a lot, at least 50%, but giving healers a way of getting that back. Now, a lot of people have argued for a separate healing stat, but I think this is the better way of dealing with it. Because at the moment, to be a healer, you don't need to stack into healing. You can just stack weapon damage and spell damage, and you've got really good external healing and really good damage. So nerfing external healing straight out, but giving healers a way of getting it back, means that if they want to be healers, they have to sacrifice something. And what I mean by giving them ways back, there could be a CP that gives 5% external healing or 10%. There could be a set in the game that gives you 25% external healing back. So giving a way for a healer to still have really strong external heals, basically they have to give up and they actually have to be a healer. They can't just be a normal build with a resto staff if they want to do good external. Let me know in the comment section what you think about those ideas, and let's move on. The next big one I want to tackle is block. Now, this paired with burst healing has just made the game pretty toxic in a lot of scenarios, but we've all ran into a perma blocking tank that just sits there and does nothing but hold block. I think this has been grating on people's nerves for a long time, but it is a lot more problematic right now with damage being lower, dot damage being nothing, and fundamentally just a lot harder to kill people in general. Now, the second part is CCs that go through block irritate me on a fundamental level. There shouldn't be a thing in the game that's got a hard counter. Like, I should be able to block anything I want to if I choose to block something. There shouldn't be a hard counter. Now, obviously, if you get rid of CCs that go through block, you need to do something with block. Reworking it so you can't perma block. So adding, once again, a ramping cost. You can sit there and hold block for a couple of seconds, but after that, it starts to get really, really expensive. And then by the time you hit 5 or 6 seconds, around where that CC cooldown is, pretty much any build in the game should not be able to block for that long, even if you're stacking in block reduction. Now, obviously, this adds issues for PvE, but this is strictly for PvP we're talking about here. So then again, it brings purpose to blocking. It's not, something I can just do and not think about. I have to think about if I want to block, when I can block, when I have to drop block, and so on. It just brings meaning back to the mechanic. That's fundamentally what I think should be done in regards to blocking. This isn't anything new. People have been talking about this for years. Now, the next one is something that I think is once again been really relevant at the moment with Ice Wardens out there, and that is snares. Snares are not fun. Like, they're just not fun. And I honestly haven't put enough thought into what can be done about snares to fix it. It's not fun. And at the end of the day, a game needs to be fun. And when you're dealing with a heap of Ice Wardens or whatever, it just feels like you're forever snared. And yes, you can add snare removal, but that only gives you a few seconds, so I don't know if they just extend the duration on snare removal by 2 or 3 seconds, or adding a hard cooldown on when you can be snared. I don't know. As I said, I haven't thought about this too hard, so let me know in the comment section what you think should be done in regards to snares. Okay. Now, the other fundamental big issue in ESO is CC break. It is pretty much one of the most unreliable mechanics in the game, and it is also one of the most important mechanics in the game. Like, you can't CC break, you die. You can't CC break, you die. Obviously, besides just fixing it, which they clearly can't do on an easily, or they would have done that, I think there is a few changes they could do. One, get rid of guard CC altogether. Just don't let guard CC, because they're constantly the worst when it comes to not being able to break and also being double CC'd or even triple CC'd. The snare removal on guard CCs is buggy at best. Now, this leads me back to our discussion around block and how I reckon CCs that go through block should be deleted. They are also the worst. Pay attention to when you can't CC break, and was it a CC that goes through block? Chances are it was. They are fundamentally a lot worse than any other CC in the game. So I think getting rid of them, as I said in talking about block, would help a lot and just make the game a whole lot better. Now, let's wrap this up. What do I think of ESO? Do I think they're going to improve things? Is it going to die? Is this the start of the slow death? And as I've said before, I don't think ZOS or ESO is going to die until there is a competitor in regards to the combat system. Until that day comes, they have a chance to save this game. Now, I don't think anything really positive is going to come out of ZeniMax until probably Microsoft puts their foot down and just goes through and clears house. ZOS has shown that there is failure somewhere at that company. If it's the top, whether it's the middle, I don't know where the issue is, but there is a issue. And I think that is one thing that just about everyone can agree on. This last update is a prime example of their failures. Another thing quickly touch on is something that Godzilla brought up about them aiming towards a solo player, and that kind of they focus on that a bit. Doing that in regards to an MMO is just dumb. It's in the freaking name. You shouldn't be focusing a MMO towards a solo player. That's what Elder Scrolls 6 is for, okay? So they should just get rid of that whole idea altogether. Anyway, boys and girls, I know that things aren't great at the moment. I thought we could have a constructive conversation around this stuff and, you know, instead of just bitching and crying for 10 minutes. But yeah, as always, guys, I love yous and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.